Item Number SCP-Y-033. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-Y-033, the Hanged City, is located in Sector Theta 9, the Eternal Night region of Provisional Reality-Y-1. Due to the vast nocturnal nature of Sector Theta 9 and the erratic manifestations of SCP-Y-033, containment focuses on surveillance and controlled access. Entry to SCP-Y-033 is restricted to Level 4 personnel or higher, authorized exploration teams, and specific Foundation research staff. All personnel assigned to SCP-Y-033 must undergo extensive psychological screening and wear reality stabilization gear with built-in locational beacons. Field agents are required to maintain continuous communication with Site-Y1, and all incoming transmissions from SCP-Y-033 are to be recorded for anomalous activity. Under no circumstances are operatives to respond to personal messages from deceased or living loved ones perceived through radios or other communication devices while within SCP-Y-033. Any operatives who comply with these communications and enter designated hanged houses are presumed lost. Due to the lethargy-inducing symbols created by the city's cyclical 14-day restructuring, it is mandatory that personnel cease mapping activities after each mapped cycle to avoid risk of extreme fatigue or unconsciousness. Mobile Task Force Zeta-0B Mythmakers is assigned to monitor and respond to restructuring events or incidents within SCP-Y-033. Description: SCP-Y-033, also known as the Hanged City, is a floating urban structure suspended by vast metal chains that extend upward into an unbroken pitch-black void. The city contains a dense arrangement of Gothic and Brutalist-style buildings hanging thousands of meters above an indeterminate black abyss. Though the chains support each structure as though they were a cohesive city block, each building sways independently, creating an unsettling, unnatural motion. Known properties of SCP-Y-033 are as follows. Observers and operatives within SCP-Y-033 who gaze directly upward experience an intense sensation of vertigo, as though they are being pulled into the dark void above. This sensation intensifies the longer an individual remains within the city limits. At unpredictable intervals, specific chains will descend from the city toward ground level in Sector Theta 9. These chains appear to invite personnel to climb upward into the city. Personnel attempting to ascend are strongly discouraged from engaging, as no individual climbing an anchored descent chain has been recovered. Personnel must never enter the Hanged City via this invitation, and any expeditions shall be done via other means accessible to Site-Y1 personnel. Shadows within SCP-Y-033 appear to behave independently of natural light sources, often drifting along walls and alleyways in a manner suggesting sentience. These shadows are generally non-predatory, but have been observed congregating around operatives who report feelings of distress or sorrow. Some personnel have reported sensing empathy from the shadows, as though they are being watched or comforted by an unseen presence. This sensation, though reported as non-threatening, has led some personnel to feel compelled to follow the shadows into isolated parts of the city. Individuals who pursue these shadows alone have been classified as missing, as none have returned. The chains holding up SCP-Y-033 emit low-frequency vibrations that can be felt throughout the city, perceived by personnel as an intermittent humming. The patterns of these vibrations shift, creating rhythms that staff describe as almost musical, yet disturbingly unsettling. These vibrations seem to act as a communicative broadcast, especially noticeable in proximity to the main chains. Attempts to translate or interpret these vibrations have so far failed, though prolonged exposure causes unease, nightmares, and a lingering sense of dread in affected personnel. SCP-Y-033 undergoes a restructuring of its architecture every 14 days, altering the arrangement of buildings into distinct cryptic shapes when mapped. Patterns appear to form symbols or sigils that induce extreme lethargy and fatigue in those who view the mapped designs in their entirety. Personnel exposed to these patterns have exhibited acute symptoms of exhaustion and, in extreme cases, have lost consciousness after prolonged exposure. As a result, mapping activities are now limited, and personnel are instructed to avoid reviewing the symbols formed by the restructuring. Communication devices within SCP-Y-033 frequently broadcast the voices of operatives' loved ones, both living and deceased, with unsettling clarity. These voices attempt to guide personnel into specific hanged houses by providing comforting or familiar instructions. Should personnel comply with these instructions and enter the designated building, all exits and entrances will seal, and the chains supporting the structure will lift it completely into the void. After the 14-day restructuring period, these buildings return to SCP-Y-033's main structure, but are found empty, and the personnel involved are presumed lost. Notably, personnel lured into these buildings report that the voices grew increasingly insistent and convincing the closer they approached the targeted structure. Incident Y-033-H1, date October 28, 2000. Summary: Mobile Task Force Zeta-0B, Mythmakers, engaged in an exploration mission within SCP-Y-033, reported anomalous radio interference. Standard Ground Operative Sky claimed to hear her deceased brother's voice, clearly instructing her to enter a specific house of the Hanged City. Despite orders to disengage, she entered the building and became unresponsive. Surveillance recorded the building being lifted into the void, and Sky's final communication included her repeatedly stating,
"I'm coming home. Mother, Father, Xavier. I'm finally coming home, just wait. I'm coming home."
The building returned empty after the next restructuring cycle. Incident Y-033-H6, date October 29, 2000. Summary: During mapping operations, Agent Fox, an experienced cartographer, suffered sudden fatigue while documenting SCP-Y-033's cyclical architecture. After reviewing completed maps, Agent Fox fell into an inexplicable coma, later found to be a result of severe mental exhaustion. Medical teams were unable to identify a physical cause, and Agent Fox has yet to awaken from his anomalously induced coma. Incident Y-033L2, date October 30, 2024. Summary: Surveillance on an anchored descent event observed a team of operatives ignoring protocol and climbing the descending chains to access SCP-Y-033. They reported unusual ease in their ascent and soon lost radio contact. Chains retracted upon their entry into the city, and no subsequent restructuring cycle returned their presence. Addendum 033A, Psychological Effects of SCP-Y-033. Personnel who spend extended time within SCP-Y-033 report recurring nightmares, auditory hallucinations, and a pervasive sense of being observed. Over 70% of exposed individuals develop symptoms resembling depression or anxiety, exacerbated by the city's eerie, oppressive environment and unpredictable hazards. Efforts to fortify mental resilience in operatives have proven largely ineffective, as SCP-Y-033's anomalous effects manifest regardless of mental fortitude or psychological preparedness. Conclusion: SCP-Y-033, the Hanged City, represents a unique and profound danger within Provisional Reality-Y-1. The structure's ominous traits, including targeted auditory luring, disorienting architectural shifts, and unpredictable descent events, pose extreme risks for containment and exploration personnel. Its cryptic, energy-draining symbols, coupled with its unsettling manipulation of personal connections, suggest the city's primary intent is to ensnare and isolate individuals. The specific purpose or origin of SCP-Y-033 remains unknown, but its capacity to psychologically dismantle and physically absorb individuals points toward a predatory, albeit passive, nature. Given SCP-Y-033's cyclical behavior and the lethal consequences of entering hanged houses, the hanged city remains under strict containment protocols. Future exploration will prioritize remote observational methods and signal disruption to prevent personnel from heeding anomalous calls to enter its targeted structures. This is Director Knightley, signing off on another report at Site-Y1. I hope you consider subscribing to stay up to date with our latest findings. I eagerly look forward to having your audience in future reports.